Good evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 7 of Coast to Coast. We are your co hosts. I'm Adrian and my friend Damon. How are you doing tonight, Damon?
Doing good, Adrian. Day's going good.
Yeah, busy and long day. But, I just wanted, both of us, sorry, we wanted to just announce something for the fans that maybe haven't heard. But unfortunately, Habs tonight will be closing down in April. Um, Although we will be keeping our socials up, like our TikTok channel, our Instagram, Twitter, and even our YouTube. So if fans want to go through our content over the last 2 years and just cherish the memories, we're gonna keep that all up there. And obviously, with that being said, like this will be our last episode of this segment, Coast to Coast, that we usually do every Monday. Um, it's just been really hard the last, I'd say, month, to be honest. Just to be super honest and real, since I found out that the channel was closing down. It's been really hard on me, but everyone's life is just super busy right now, and I respect the decision that was made, but also, we're not closing the door on maybe a comeback, maybe in a few years, maybe get the gang together. And I also just want to say thank you to all the fans too that have tuned into our channel over the years, and our devout fans too, that tune into our streams, and showing us all the love and support for over the years. Yeah, I mean, Damon, would you want to say something?
I mean, I don't have much. I think you hit the nail on the head. Uh, but I just want to say, like, thank you guys, like the fans, so much. Like I just couldn't imagine being able to talk in front of a camera and about my favorite hockey team. Like, this is like most kids' dreams. But being able to do this, like, even though it was just for over a year and a bit, but I just like it's just an experience that not many people will get, and I'm just so thankful to the entire Habs Night team for giving me this experience. And you never know where life will take you, but I like this is something off my bucket list. And I just wanted the fans to know as well that you guys are very much as part of the show as we are. Like, you guys interacting in the chat, that's something we've always liked to see. And even the Habs fan community just continuing to grow strong through this time. I just want to say thank you guys.
Yeah, very well said, Damon. And I think I've told you, Damon, as well, and I've expressed to the our other teammates on our channel here. But like this channel, like, absolutely just changed my life in a positive way, and it just gave me a really positive perspective on life again after a tough few years with a lot of things that were going on in my life personally. It just gave me hope and positivity. And and when Dale was our founder, Dale Weiss, was more involved in the channel, and he had a lot of great interviews when this channel started. And I used to just look forward to seeing it every week and seeing who he was going to have on. And seeing, obviously we got to know the everyone else in the channel really well too. I think Damon and I were both regular call-ins at one point too before we joined the channel.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, man, they're just very welcoming. And I'm so thankful for to this journey. I'm being a fan, and then obviously joining the channel. And it's something I'll always remember for the rest of my life. And yeah, like it's just I'm out of words on it. But it's yeah, it's been a ride. And again, maybe in a few years we'll get going again, but we'll see what happens.
You never know. You never know. It's gonna be really nice eventually. Like, if we could come back in the future, but we're not going to close the door on that. And hopefully, that in a few years when the Habs are contending again, we can come back on and do some more shows. I want to thank you, Dan, for this comment right here.
Yes, Dan is a yes. Thank you, Dan. You've always been very supportive. And you're one of the best people I know, especially on Twitter too. We've talked a lot, and you're a great guy. And we'll definitely keep in touch too. So yeah, it's been, again, guys, it's been a great ride for anybody that's that's watching, and uh yeah, I'm speechless. I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to say. Like, um again, it's we've known about this over a month now, Damon, I'd say, and um it's just, yeah, it's hard to, to like say goodbye, but maybe again we'll be able to do this again in the future, I'm hoping.
Yeah, I agree. And
Oh,
I just want to thank TV881 for these comments as well. All those times. Thanks. It's been a ride.
yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. Um, Also, I wanted to say one thing too. I don't know if we mentioned on the last show, but Drew Deeks also mentioned that he was leaving the channel. Um, he obviously, everyone go check out Drew Deeks' YouTube channel. He's got a lot of great content on there. He's a very good interviewer, great reaction videos, and we love him dearly here. And it's we're gonna miss him. I mean, honestly, Damon, we did quite a few shows with him. He was always so fun to work with, and you know, I think we could both say, like, on behalf, like, we hope him the best in the future, and he's got a good career ahead of him for what he wants to do in the hockey world.
Yeah, Dixie, he's going places. I can tell you that for right off the top of my head. Like a lot, I don't know if you saw that interview with Owen Beck he did or something. Like that was really well done from him, and just all of his content, it's top
Yeah,
notch. And he's definitely one of the best Habs YouTubers out there. If not, he's the best.
I agree. He's got a God given talent, that's for sure, and he's makes great content, and he's gonna keep doing amazing things, and we're all gonna just keep supporting him. And again, guys, don't just gonna be a plug for him here, but don't forget to follow his channel, Drew Deeks. He's
Yeah.
again, great guy, great content creator, and yeah. So I just, we want to just open up the show and discuss that. That's been on our minds for quite a while too, right? So, uh, you know, for me too, like, I don't know what the next step is, but um, let's just have a glimmer of hope and just see what happens, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, let's get into the mix here. I mean, we've been off for a few weeks, but we'll kind of dive into the Habs' recent performance. They're starting to fall a little bit in the standings. I mean, a lot of fans are happier about that, I guess you could say, because the last time I checked, they were in a lottery pick position.
Yeah,
I'm gonna see
we're
if they're
fourth
still there.
last.
Oh, they're down from fifth, eh? Oh wow.
I think we're fifth. I mean, fifth last. I think. Yeah. But I think we could end up being fourth last very much if Anaheim continue winning some hockey games.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Yeah, we're 28th in the league right now. Anaheim's 4 points behind us. Yeah, Anaheim, Chicago, and then it's Sharks and Columbus. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, this draft lottery, I think.
You know what?
These
For old
last few
time's sake,
weeks.
we've got to do this for old time's sake. I have
Yes,
to do
please.
this.
I think I know what you're. I think I know what you're gonna put on.
Yeah, you knew it.
Let's do it. Let's do
Okay,
this.
at least we could get Fantilli here on the first try.
Oh, hey, that's good.
I'd be happy with that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh no, this is not good.
Nah, that's like sixth. Oh my God, we dropped.
Oh, you know what?
Oh, we're gonna get. Almost said Shane Wright. Jeez. Oh, Connor Bedard. Let's go.
Yeah, almost said Shane
Yeah.
right there, but we got Connor Bedard.
Yeah. Oh my God. Sorry, I almost said Shane Wright. Like, it slipped on my tongue, and I was like, wait a minute. Let's not say that. Yeah. I think regardless where they finish, though, in the standings, I think they're in the right track. I know we've been saying that a lot, but I really do think they're in the right track this time. Obviously, I would like to get, a Connor Bedard, who's obviously a generational talent. We can really use a guy like him because, like, the Atlantic is just getting tougher and tougher each year. So we could really use a guy of that caliber, right? So
Yeah, like not only that, just imagine you can get a Leo Carlson, Fantilli, or maybe maybe even Edward Chalmers, but I don't think he'll go like in the top 5. But I think he could be a steal in this draft. There's still like there's like this draft. The way I see it right now is like people call me Damon Button.
No, man,
And
it's a deep draft this year.
I mean, I think Sloth, like compared to most draft picks, I think he'd probably go 3rd or 4th in this draft. So even just like a top 3 pick would be good. It would be good enough for the Habs here. Or even 2 top 10 picks, because I expect Florida to start dropping eventually. Like, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs because so many of those other teams behind them have games in hand. And I think like the East will probably go to the Islanders and the Penguins. So like right now, like I think that that we're probably gonna get a bit of a better pick with the Florida Panthers pick than they're currently sitting at right now. So that's just the way I see it right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's just gonna end up being like you said, the Islanders and the Penguins just kind of like squeaking through there. Obviously, they have some games in hand, right? And obviously, my bias, I don't want Florida to make the playoffs because I want that pick to be higher, right? So hopefully they keep that up. But Florida is one of those teams, like they're just like they either win 4 games in a row and then they lose like 2 and then they lose like 3 or whatever. Like so they're kind of like I find they're really streaky. I know there was that game on Thursday night, which that was an interesting game to say the least. But it looks like the score of a baseball game instead of a hockey game. It was pretty crazy.
Oh yeah, I didn't see it. I was at the Sens game versus the Avalanche that day, but
yeah,
I was keeping up with the score.
Oh
and
man,
I was like sitting with my uncle, and I just refreshed my phone. I showed him the score. He's like, "Wait, what?" He was looking shocked, and he's like, "What's going on in that game?" And then later on, second period, I showed it to him again. He's like, "You must want Bedard badly."
Hey, I mean, half of the team's hurt, right? And I don't know if it's just precautionary or like I know we talked about this throughout the year too. Like I think it's good that they're keeping the guys, giving them more time to heal on injuries. But yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting though. It's going to be a great draft. The draft lottery is going to be super intense like last year. I just hope hopefully they can just get another one. We'll see though. They just got to keep dropping in the standings. But once you're in that top 5, like or even top 3, like you just got to have luck on your side, and that's it. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I'll say this: we know how lucky Gorton got when he was the GM of the Rangers. That he drafted Lafreniere and Capo Caco with draft lottery wins, like which pushed ahead the rebuild a lot. Like, just imagine how huge it would be. Huge it would be to get those kind of picks. Like, that would definitely catapult a rebuild like at least a year.
Agreed. Even like I think about it too, how the Rangers won the draft lottery that year. Like that was crazy.
I was so pissed.
I know. Like honestly, I'm telling you, this might be a hot take, but if the Habs didn't beat Pittsburgh in the play-in series, they would have definitely gotten the first overall pick. I don't know if anyone agrees with me. They would have won the draft lottery that year. That's just what I have believed for a long time. And at the time, I said if they didn't do it, like if they didn't beat Pittsburgh, they would have easily won the draft lottery that year. But
that brings back some memories. Like when that happened, I thought as soon as July hit, I thought in that draft lottery, I thought, oh my god, the Habs are getting Lafreniere, because I didn't think we were gonna beat the Penguins.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I didn't. Most people didn't think so either, but that was a good series with like how it went down and Jeff Petrie scoring the game 1 overtime goal, and after that I was like, they have a chance against these guys. They played hard against them, and obviously they came out on top. And then obviously that was a game 3. I think it was like 3-game series if I'm correct. But or they scored late. Lehkonen
5-game series, yeah.
Oh, sorry, it was a 5-game series. I remember Lehkonen scored the game-winning goal, series-clinching goal, again with his clutchness like usual, right? So
yeah, I remember when that happened. Like one of the most unique things, in my opinion, when it happened was everyone was saying, "Oh, if the Habs don't have like if Domi doesn't go, I don't see a way the Habs can win a single game against these guys." And then all these analysts were saying, Oh, I think Jeff O'Neill it was. I remember. I think there was a take of his that I was like, "What are you saying?" Like I was really shocked by it. Where he said, you'll think the series is over by the second game, but then after the second game, you'll realize they have one more game to play." And I thought, like,
Yeah.
you're really counting out the Habs this early. And there was literally teams that said we don't want a 5 game series because we know what a well rested Carey Price can do in the playoffs. Like I
Yeah.
didn't think we'd win. I thought it'd be a 5 game series that we'd lose initially, but I was amazed at how we won that series. Like just still looking back, like time flies.
One thing I've always like just historically I notice about the Habs is that um, when they're playing more loose and under the radar, then that's how when they play their best hockey. Like that's a great example, right? In 2020 there, not much was really expected from them. And then again, they upset the Penguins, and then the year after it was, they upset the Leafs, they upset the Jets. Even no one really expected them to beat Winnipeg and sweep them at that. And then obviously the series against Vegas went the way it did, right? So, and then even again, 2014, like another year where they were kind of counted out at times, and even 2010, right? It's like just year after year where they're kind of like the underdog, I guess you can say, but they just like came out on top almost most of the time.
Yeah, like around that time, especially when the Habs were on those playoff runs, I didn't feel like the Habs were just running on what they had. I felt like there was an external force. Like you could say they were running on magic when they were in those playoff runs because of how good they were
Yeah,
playing.
I mean, I think one thing about the playoffs too is like if a team just gets hot at the right time, then like anything's possible, right? Like for example, with like the 2010 one, here's a great example. Yaroslav Halak was just like red hot, right? And he got hot at the right time, and they just did what they did, right? And obviously, by the third round, they didn't have much left in the tank, but it was still a great run. So
Yeah, just gotta
really
touch
answer
on
this
this comment
question.
here.
Yeah.
I mean, the Devils. I'm just going to tackle this first because I think the Devils as a playoff team. I think they can. I don't know if they'll win a series yet because this is going to be their first year in the playoffs with this rebuild officially complete.
Hmm. I agree.
But I could see them winning a series. But at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if they end up losing a series because of this. But like I was like cheering on that game. I thought, okay, the Devils, please have this. And then as soon as the Panthers won 4-2, I was like, oh my goodness, you had
Yeah.
one job.
Honestly, the Devils like had a really hot start to the year. Um, I still think they have a great team. Excuse me, but I don't know if I don't think they're ready to take that next step in the playoffs yet. Um, I think they're not going to win a round this year, and if they do, then hey, good for them. But I think they're going to need that experience first before they kind of take that next step. They're probably going to take maybe a year or two to kind of get that experience, but they're again another team that's on the right track. But we'll see what happens with them.
Yeah, and this comment here as well was also pretty interesting from Mitchell and UFC. They pushed the rebuild faster riding Zibanejad and Artemi Panarin too. We got to find our own too. So,
Agreed.
but I think Zibanejad was just a bit before they initially decided to have their rebuild. Because I
Yeah,
remember, I think it was summer of 2016 when that did Zibanejad and they started their rebuild in 2018, but it still really helped catapult when they did their rebuild and Panarin in free agency. And also now a lot of reporters are talking about how the Montreal Canadiens are becoming a lot more attractive because of the new management stuff that Jeff Gorton and Kent Hughes have brought in. And also a lot of players now want to play for Marty. So it's interesting to think about if we could get maybe a good player in free agency in a few years from now. But right now, I'm not really looking at getting big free agents right now because we're still in this rebuild and we still have to let our young players develop. So that's the way I personally see it right now with the Habs. Just let the players develop, and if we can bring in a star, like let's just say PLD, if he can come as a free agent, book
yeah,
your
that's the
ticket.
first one. Yeah, honestly, like if they're gonna, because of what he's a free agent in 2 years from now, I'd honestly just wait. Wait for him to become a free agent again. He's um said like more than once that he wants to play with the Habs. Just wait a couple of years. We're not trying to win anything right now. We're just trying to develop the future of this team and build through the draft. So wait 2 years, and I think that's the best way to do it. I personally wouldn't want to really give up assets for him right now when we already know that he wants to play there in the future. So I think that'll be like their, well, I don't want to compare him to Artemi. Sorry, I don't want to compare him to Artemi Panarin necessarily, but I want to say like that will probably be like their big splash that'll speed up their rebuild, kind of like with the Rangers with Panarin, how that really sped up their rebuild.
I agree. Like I'm not talking like we're not talking in terms of impact they'll have on the game because Panarin is like a much better player than Dubois, but
yeah,
he will he'll like he can also play wing as well. But I think he's going to be more of a center if when he comes to Montreal. Hopefully, it's a sign to say, not a question of if, but when.
I think honestly at this point it is a matter of when. I just think whenever he hits free agency, I think you already know that the interest is mutual. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm really stoked though if they do get him.
Okay, we've got to tackle this comment here. Heineman sent to Laval today. I'm really happy about this news because Heineman, I think, is one of the more underrated prospects in our system, and I think he could play a big role in Laval maybe making the playoffs. They're about five or 6 points out when I looked at the standings today. So, but they're getting reinforcements also with Struble, which we'll touch on a bit later.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully Laval can get some more reinforcements for the playoffs. But I'm really excited about this news about Heineman because I find he's reminding me a bit of a Lehkonen clone. Because he plays a solid two-way game, and also he has a really underrated shot. So I'm just really excited about this news.
Yeah, we saw that earlier today, and I think he'll be a great piece for them to make a deep push. Again, like you said, they're only 6 points out. And you bring Struble into the lineup and see what he can do, right? So
yeah, and I wanted to also tackle this comment here. Do you think any chance Primo gets a call up for at least a game to see how he does? Of course, one game doesn't show much, but maybe it shows that he is better than the beginning of the season.
That's a good question. Maybe near the end of the season, like in April, if when the games aren't as meaningful. I mean, why not give him a shot? Give him a few games and just see how he does. I'd be okay with that.
Same here. I love Heineman. Hope the best.
Absolutely.
And this here, okay, how does the HL playoff work? HL wildcard work? That's just a format I just don't get.
To be honest with you, it's so complex. I don't even know either, to be honest. I was trying to figure it out last year, and I was like like the meme with all like the formulas and the guy trying to think. Like that was literally me. I was like, what? Like, what is this?
It reminds me of a time I was doing commentary for one of the college Algonquin College basketball games where it was getting to playoff time, and there was a big game we were doing that was getting close to the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't really work like 1 through 8 in the same conference. Like they did like 1 through 8 through different conferences. So if you're like first in the East, you'd play 8 in the West. And it took us a bit of time to find that out.
Oh, that's crazy. That's weird.
It is, yeah.
Imagine that, like the first seed in the East has to, like in the NHL, has to face the 8th seed in like the West. So it'd be like Boston versus Calgary. Like that'd be crazy.
Oh my God, like, Sutter hockey against Boston.
Oh, that'd actually be a good series, though, I think. But
yeah, Sutter one of his typical post-game interviews.
Oh, yeah,
they're so unique.
Yeah, Daryl Sutter, what a guy. Let's see. I want to read this comment. At least we have 3 Habs in non-contact. True. Yeah. We'll see how it goes. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure. I don't want to rush everyone before the end of the season. I just kind of want everyone, just if you're injured, take the summer off. You could say the summer starts now for them because we don't want anyone coming back and risking getting injured again, especially Gallagher, because anytime Gallagher's come back, there's always something that seems to be aggravated.
Yeah.
So I just believe Gallagher just needs to take this time off and the summer.
Yeah, he got hurt this year, and then he re-injured the same. I think I can't remember what the injury was, but he re-injured the same spot. So I'm like, I think they just rushed him and wanted to get him back in the lineup. But honestly, you're better off just extending the time and letting him heal properly.
Yeah, I just want to touch on this comment about Jan Mishak. When we got him in the second round, it seems like a win, but he hasn't done the best in Laval this season. I agree with this comment.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really followed much of him, to be completely honest. Like this year, mind you, like I know like before he was playing great. I think in the OHL, I think he was in there if I'm correct. But it's just 1 year. He's still young, right? So I don't want to completely lose hope in him. But he can turn around next year. Sometimes it just takes like a few development seasons to really kind of elevate your game. So you just never know with him. Still has potential and a lot of skill.
Yeah, I agree. And also, he hasn't really played too much in the OHL. I mean, the AHL, not the OHL. I mean, he's played a lot in the OHL and he's done well there. But the more I think about it with the AHL, I remember Arbor Jackai was on Nyland's podcast and he was talking about some of the biggest adjustments from the OHL to AHL and NHL play. And one thing is that a lot of the players say it's a lot easier to steal the puck. That's a lot more difficult to take the puck from the puck carrier. No, and in maintaining possession without being hit is one of the other big things. So I think also a lot of it could just be a bit more of an adjustment. Like I haven't watched too much of Jan Mishak in the AHL this year, but I'm just not just me somewhat speculating right now.
Yeah, it's definitely just again, it's a huge adjustment from junior to even to the American League because you're just jumping from junior to professional hockey, and that's like a big adjustment right away, right? So
Yeah.
what do you expect as far as? Honestly, I have the same opinion. I don't know what to expect. Like we, there's just too many. I don't know. There's too many injuries the last couple of years. With is it just you got to think? Is it the medical staff or are the players just not? I don't want to blame the players because injuries happen and the game is so fast now. But you just don't know. It's hard to say. Although there were a few injuries, like again, Caden Gooley was one with his knee. He came back again and got hurt again, and then Gallagher. Is it just bad luck, or is this medical staff like rushing these players back? Like it's a good question to think about, but it's hard because we're fans and we're on the outside. We don't really know what's going on internally and how these players are rehabbing these injuries, right? So it's kind of hard to say.
Yeah, that's a good point, but I do see a bit of a pattern with all those players you mentioned, the Gooley, Gallagher, and all those guys. And I feel like maybe like this is just me speculating right now. Like I'm not to be taken seriously, but I'm not an insider reporting anything. But just right now, the way one theory I could have, like this is probably a low chance theory, is maybe like I do believe a lot of these players are getting injured, and then as they're getting close to coming back, the players want to come back faster because they want to play. And then the medical staff's like, you can play, but like you won't, but it will hurt a lot. And then they come back, maybe re-aggravate something, and then they have to go back on the IR. That's just my theory right now. But I believe like also in hockey, especially even more compared to other sports, like soccer, if you're injured, you're not playing. Like let's just I'm just gonna say Neymar for example. Like there's no way he's gonna like play Champions League through an injury. And same with a lot of other players, like PSG easily could have used him in that final game against Bayern, but I think hockey needs to like let players heal more, and I think players need to know they should heal, focus on their body more than playing through all this pain. But I understand why they do it because they love the game, and some of them could lose a roster spot. But I'm just not fully in the know. Like that's just me just trying to give the best answer I can.
No, I'm totally with you on that too, right? Because a lot of them, some of these guys maybe want to, keep their status in the league or, keep a roster spot, right? So they gotta, they think, just they gotta do what they have to do to get by. But, sometimes you gotta think too, you gotta think about your health and your long-term health and, your quality of life after hockey is the most important thing.
I agree. And just gonna pull up this comment here. Underrated head coach this season.
Ooh.
I have one right off the top of my head. I'm gonna say Andre Tournier of Arizona.
Yeah, he's doing pretty good with them. Some of those players are playing really good down there. Let me see. I have to look. To be honest,
like the Coyotes were pretty much built to be bad this year, but the fact that Tournier is even making them like a mid-20s team this season is it's just amazing.
Yeah,
and he used to coach the 67, so I do have a bit of a bias here, and because I'm also a big 67s fan as well. Like he was a coach that everyone enjoyed playing for, and he made players want to play for him, which is one of the things like a lot of old school coaches didn't do. And he's the definition of new school coaches.
Yeah, he's done a good job there. I remember you've told me in the past that he's been great. So that's good though. It's good to see that they have like a good system going, right? And for years of mediocrity, I guess you can say for them, and they're finally headed in the right track.
Yeah, and also Clayton Keller's on another level as well.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal player. He, that guy is just unreal.
And his comments about the GM there, the GM's probably not happy with all these wins.
I love it. I love the honesty.
I can't believe he had the balls to actually say that.
I know, it's great. I love the honesty, and I love like the, players got to be real like that, and I like that stuff because a lot of in like basketball and stuff, they say stuff like that, and they're just brutally honest, and I love stuff like that. So,
especially more personality.
Yeah, exactly. The league needs to show more of that.
Yeah, and even Christian Pulisic, I don't know if you heard, but he called out Thomas Tuchel in his book, former Chelsea coach, for not playing him in the second leg against Real Madrid.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, that was like, oh my goodness, Christian, he was dumbfounded that he didn't get a play in the second leg. But I thought, I was a big Chelsea fan and a diehard Chelsea fan. Havertz was the better pick over him. It's like, oh my goodness, you're dumbfounded just because the coach didn't pick you to start. And he made it public in his book. Like, wow. I want to see more of that. Like, reading a lot of former players and executive books like Brian Brooks, he showed off a bit more personality. But I feel like there's a lot of personalities in hockey that we just don't see enough of.
It's true. And you always see the personality come out when they don't play hockey anymore, which is such a weird trend. But I don't know. Hopefully, I mean, there are some guys in the league with personality, and it's good to see some guys are starting to kind of go towards that trend, but we need to see more of it for sure. But I wanted to go back to the question about coach. Honestly, I have to say Jim Montgomery in Boston just unreal. I didn't think they were going to be that good this year. I knew Boston is decent every year, but I didn't think they were going to be like the level they're at right now. And he's really getting the best out of those players. Obviously, like Cassidy kind of like fell out of favor, as you can tell. After again, a lot of coaches have a shelf life, right? So just after a while, they want to hear a new voice, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I gotta give him kudos for how he's like just the Bruins are like historically good this year. It's nuts. Like I don't know how it's like happening the way it is, but man, it's crazy.
I agree. I know that Jim Montgomery was originally the coach of Dallas back in the I think 2019-20 season. Then he had to step away from the game because of substance related issues, and it's amazing like this whole comeback story with him and how well he's been coaching the Bruins.
Yeah, it's definitely something wholesome for sure, and you like to see him get back on his feet again and like have such great success.
I don't know if you saw the Hughes selfie today.
No, I didn't see it. Oh, the Kent Hughes selfie. Yeah, I did see that. That was great.
Oh, did you see Yuppie streaking in this in the Bell Center today?
No, I didn't see
Oh,
that.
the Montreal Canadiens Instagram uploaded a video of Yuppie streaking
Oh, good lord.
across the team photo.
That's amazing. You see, and like that's like these things are so good for the game, to have like funny stuff like this. I remember like when Gritty came into like the NHL, that was one of the best marketing things the NHL did because even like late night talk show hosts were talking about Gritty and like no one really, in the US hockey is not very like super popular in a lot of areas, but they were just talking like Gritty was just stealing the show and I was like, wow, this is like amazing like marketing for the NHL. Like, this is like great, and doing like stuff like that is just great for the game, and showing some personality. It's good to see, but again, hopefully they can just keep it going and just kind of have that like trend going forward. But we'll see. I mean, I just find like a lot of like the older generations of hockey players are like so against that, but they want the game to change. They want game to be more popular. You have to do stuff like that. Like the NBA is just great marketing. Like all like everything they do, just again marketed great, and like the way like they've really attracted an audience is just something like spectacular. And again, the NHL should just take notes.
Yeah, and I just want to touch on that Gritty thing because it brings back memories. So, for those who know, I'm a big John Oliver fan. So John Oliver did an episode on I don't remember which U.S. Supreme Court member it was. I can't remember off the top of my head, but there's a crazy U.S. Supreme Court member who was undergoing a lot of legal ramifications. And then John Oliver said, "I'd much rather be talking about Gritty today." But unfortunately, this guy's in the news and I have to talk about him. And he said, but on Gritty news, though, he's already done a Kim Kardashian style photo shoot and someone already has a tattoo of him. And that person he edited, Jim Carter, former US President Jimmy Carter, with a tattoo of Gritty, and it was hilarious.
That's actually pretty crazy. I didn't even know that actually happened. That's really funny. And you see, like that's good stuff though. We need that, and we need that for the game. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for this comment, Samuel. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
watching.
Yeah, thanks for watching and thank you for being a fan.
So I know we're gonna have
return?
this is a good comment here, a good question for us.
Monahan returns. I don't think he returns this year.
I don't think this season, but depending on his health for the future, I don't want to rule it out. But I'd love him to stay if he's still able to play hockey, because I heard Eric Engels report that it might be in question his hockey future after this season because of the injuries that he's had, and especially at such a young age, and he might have to question like quality of life over hockey.
Yeah, I did hear something like that too. I hope he can play next year, man. I've been a fan of him for quite a while, and and just a great player overall. And he's been playing. He played great on this team this year, and I just hope he can, continue playing with this team in the future because he just really solidified himself as a great second line center on this team, right? And then after he got hurt, things started to slowly fall down.
I agree. And also, he's someone who wants to be here. And any interview he's done, he's always talked about how much he loves the fans, the city. And it's not very often you have a player who wants to be in Montreal because of the fans in the city. Most players typically they like to go play in the U.S. They like to play in the U.S. because of the lower taxes, nicer weather, and they can live a bit more of a private life down there. But here, like, hockey is the be it end all.
Yeah.
And you have someone like Monahan who wants to embrace that challenge, which is something that doesn't always happen.
Yeah, I really hope he can play beyond this next season, obviously, and you just gotta hope for the best for him. Hopefully, he can keep going, but at the same time, like you said, you got to think about his quality of life after hockey, right? So there's a lot of things at play here.
Yeah. Best Stanley Cup final series you've seen in your life?
My bias might be seeing the Habs in the finals, but if you want to go in terms of quality of Final. Oh man, there's so many good ones.
Oh,
Carolina Edmonton in 06 was really good. The Pittsburgh Detroit ones back to back were great. Chicago Philly was good. Vancouver Boston. Chicago Boston was really good. Yeah, Rangers Kings was okay. It wasn't my favorite. Blackhawks and the Lightning was good. Nashville Pittsburgh was a really good one. But oh man, it's hard. There's been so many good ones over the years. My biased one's gonna be seeing the Habs in the finals, obviously, but man, that's tough. That's a good question. My favorite one, well, my first Stanley Cup final that I saw was Carolina at Edmonton. That was when I became a hockey fan. Was like before like that season. So, man, that's tough. You know what? I'm gonna go with Nashville and Pittsburgh. Screw it. That was a good final.
it
I was a phenomenal final. And for everyone that remembers the whole Listerine thing,
was.
Crosby
Oh,
and
yeah.
Crosby and PK did not talk about Listerine, to say the least.
Oh.
There were some other pleasantries said.
Oh my
You
God,
know?
PK was a personality that final.
Yeah,
And I remember I was obsessed with Listerine that summer. So I thought, oh my goodness, because at the time I believed it, and I thought because Crosby was getting away with so much. Like, remember he took off part of Mark Mathod's finger with that slash and got 0 discipline.
yeah, I remember that. That was crazy. Like I couldn't believe that was anybody else though. That would have been easily like a fucking.
I wanted
3-game
Gary Bettman
suspension.
fired right then and there because you have a star player who takes off someone's finger, and then you have like a bunch of other crazy stuff go around the league, and you don't do anything about it. Your stuff maybe just as crazy. Like it drove me nuts that Crosby was able to get away with that, and even in the playoffs of all places, he should have been suspended for that.
I agree, but again, he's the face of the league, right? So
Yeah,
he
there's
can't
a
really.
joke.
He's untouchable.
Yeah,
He's
there's a joke
untouchable.
that some of my brother's friends have. They say Gary Bettman probably has a room in his house dedicated to Sidney Crosby.
I know Pierre McGuire probably does too.
My
Oh
best
man,
Stanley Cup final. I'm just like my favorite. Like it was nice seeing the Habs in the final, but it wasn't like like
not
it
the
was not
result
like
we wanted.
not the result we wanted, and it wasn't the most entertaining hockey.
Yeah,
Like in terms of hockey and like the best storylines in the final, I'm gonna be honest with you. You're not gonna like me for this, but the Blues versus Bruins in 2019.
oh yeah, no, that
And
was
like
a
the
good
Jordan
final
Binnington
too.
story was my favorite part of it, and I know you do not like him.
No, that's okay. No, even back then, like he was a great story, and how he, Jake Allen, who was on our Habs here, he took his starting job and kind of just brought them to the finals, right? And there were so many good players um, on that team, and just Ryan O'Reilly won the Conn Smythe, and Petrangelo, like they had a good team, right? And Bennington obviously was like phenomenal from like January 2019 till like June, right? And he was on fire. So there was a comment there. I wanted to read that. I think it said Ottawa Anaheim
Yeah, I was
final.
actually gonna pull that right back
Yeah,
up.
that one was kind of like, I guess you kind of like, in terms of the quality of hockey, like wasn't really that great because Ottawa just had no chance. Like from game one, like Anaheim just shut down their whole team. Like Ottawa didn't really have much depth outside of that top line, the Heatley, Alfredson, Spezza line. Like, and I remember, I think like the Anaheim's third line, I think it was Sammy Paulson was the center, and I think Rob Niedermeyer was somebody else. But they shut down like that top line like completely, and they couldn't score. So
Yeah, I'm pretty sure a few Senators
Buffalo,
players were playing through some broken legs that series. I think Spezza was or something.
I think so too. Like I think honestly, Buffalo should have been in the finals that year. That would have been a great final. Buffalo and Anaheim. Oh, that would have been something else. Would have been way
Yeah.
more entertaining.
Yeah, I just want to switch gears here to talk about the recent Jonathan Drouin news here
Mm-hmm.
because that was like that caused a lot of drama. I just want to get your thoughts because I was personally shocked to hear this, but but I don't know like fully what to make this. Like I don't know if this fully closes the door on a potential return to the Habs next season, which I don't expect them to come back in the first place. But yeah,
Yeah, I kind of read up a little bit on it at times this week, and apparently the report was he missed a team meeting, and when Marty was asked about it in the media, he said it was like a non-negotiable. But one thing he did say is, he said, he made a mistake, but at the same time he said, he's handled it really well. So again, he didn't completely shit on Drouin to the media, which a lot of old school coaches would have done. At least he said, yeah, there's a little bit of a hiccup here, but you know what? He's handled it well and he knows what he has to do like better going forward. And I think that's why, it's great to see guys like Marty St. Louis coaching teams, right? Because they give you you made a mistake, but they give you more of like a positive perspective going forward. Um, yeah, even like you said too, will he be back? I don't know, maybe. It's just really sucks because I still really like Jonathan Drouin, and I think he's done some great things for this team over the years. I just think from day one there was just so much pressure on him, to be like the savior of this franchise, right? Because that the offseason that he got traded to Montreal, like we lost some key pieces, and Bergevin was under a lot of pressure to make some moves, and I think Joe was just really put in a tough spot, and it's just sad to see like what happened. Obviously with when he took some time off 2 years ago, and like just injury, bad luck with injuries too. There was times where he was looking like he was playing like some of the best hockey of his career, and then just bad luck with injuries. I think when him and Domi were on that line together in 2018-19, they were just so stellar. Like they were so good. Um, and it's just bad luck. I think he took a hit from Ovechkin, and he just wasn't the same after, and he was out for a while. And just again, I've been a supporter of him since day one, and I liked him in Tampa. Obviously seeing like the kind of skill set he had and what he was going to be bringing to Montreal, and you know, I would love to see him come back, but I just don't know if what management has in their plans. Maybe he's not really part of the future anymore. Like we don't know, right? So whatever happens, I hope him. I wish him well, and I think if he gets a crack with another team, maybe a change of scenery, a fresh start somewhere else will really benefit him.
I completely agree. You literally read my mind, Adrian. I don't know if you're secretly like a mind reader, but yeah, I like that Ovechkin hit especially because I remember that season he got off to such a hot start.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember that Ovechkin hit him that game. I remember he just never came back that game. I thought, okay, what's going on here? I hope he's okay. And then he missed a couple months. Then he came back 10 games right before COVID paused the entire season. Didn't get a point. Then in the playoffs, he played amazing. He was one of our better forwards in that playoff run, along with Kotkaniemi and Suzuki. I'd say like he was probably up there and maybe in our best six forwards that playoff run.
Agreed.
And then then the second season, like the season after, the mental health issues, and then the season after injuries, like a lot of it just never worked out fully. And also I think there was not the best, like I don't know how to say this nicely, but I think the Bergevin regime was not the best regime for him to play under. But I feel like this Gorton and Hughes regime, if they were here at the time when the trade was made, I feel like he would have been a much better player. But like some of it is on him because because missing team meetings. Like I know he's 2 minutes late, and I don't want to like comment too much in a situation that I'm not fully in the know of. But apparently the excuse he used was the alarm clock didn't go off in his room. So that's the oldest excuse in the book.
Yeah. Again, me too. I don't really want to comment on it because, we've all been there, done that, right? But, I think another thing too that was not good for his development, like early on with Montreal, was the experiment at having him at center. Like, wasn't really something that should have really happened. But the Habs were like in a desperation mode that year and didn't know what else to do. I just don't think that was really good for him because he's more of a natural winger. But I agree with you in the sense of like if we had the Gorton and Hughes in 2017, things probably would have been panned out a lot different, right? But um, again, a guy like him who has such a great skill set, he's still like such a great like skill set. I know he only has one goal this year, but
Those
um,
assists, like he racks them
yeah,
up at will.
yeah, he does, right? And that's the thing, right? He still contributes out there. And there was times this year where he's been on the power play where he's looked kind of good, and just maybe if he goes to another team, he might get maybe he gets a fresh start. And I hope if that's the case, I hope it benefits him, and I hope he really does well.
Yeah, I just want to circle back a bit more to like Drouin and the positioning that you said about the center in the wings. Like initially going into that season, I thought this is what our top line should have been. Some people might not agree with me on this, but I thought our top line should have been Galchenyuk at center, Gallagher on the right wing, and then Drouin on the left wing. That's initially what I thought our top six should have been, but then I felt like Julian was somewhat sabotaging it with that whole desperation mode. And
Yeah,
Bergevin as well, but that was like a whole tough season to follow, like as a Habs fan, but I still watched every game no matter what the scoreline was.
yeah, that was a tough year. Man, I'm so happy it's done though. Holy fuck, it
Yeah.
was so bad. Um,
At least we
again,
got Ylonen out of it. We got Jesse Ylonen, who's looking like he's
yeah,
going to be a good middle six guy, and we have
screw.
remnants of Kotkaniemi and Christian Dvorak.
Yeah, Kakanyemi. Yeah, I swear he only scores against Montreal now. Like I swear, that's the only team he scores against. It's like
He just double
unbelievable.
matches his intensity and just doubles up his motivation and just scores against us, like you're saying.
Yeah,
He seems so mad. Like he was so mad about the whole thing. Like I don't think he handled it well. But if I was him, I probably wouldn't handle it well either. That whole situation.
yeah. I don't know. Like I think he. I mean, like being scratched in the finals was kind of like
It was a
I don't know if that
mistake in my
was
opinion.
yeah like
Like I think I would have scratched Eric Stahl over him because I found Eric Stahl was making so many more mistakes than him. And like the way Bergevin's regime operated was the if you're a youngster and you don't make mistakes, you play. But if you do, you get scratched. And yeah, I know Eric Stahl's a veteran, but I think at that point he should have been more of a voice in the locker room other than playing on the ice. And I feel like Kotkaniemi should have been on that fourth line once game four happened. Just looking back, and like if I could go back and change time and all that, like I probably would have made that change.
yeah, that was another beauty by Ducharme, right?
Yeah, Ducharme.
Fucking
Like
hell.
one of the most unique coaches.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, I'm pretty sure from what I remember hearing, Pierre Gervais had some interesting words about him.
Yeah, and apparently Ducharme called Pierre Gervais about the book after, and he was really saddened about and disheartened about a lot of the comments he made.
Really?
Yeah,
I, oh, I don't know. Like I mean, he's been on quite a few interviews since that book came out because obviously everyone in Habs media wants to like pick his brain on that, right? And I think because I watched when he was on Nyland's podcast, Chris Nyland's podcast, and he did say something about you know uh, it's nothing personal. It's just what I saw, right? Like he's like I wasn't out here to hurt people's feelings. It's just if it happened, hey, it is what it is. But this is what I saw firsthand, right? So, and he's allowed to have his opinions. I mean, he was in the dressing room. He saw what happened, right? So, um, one thing that was really like intriguing that he said, I think he said something along the lines of like Bergevin was like very moody and stuff, and it would sometimes affect like his decisions because he let his emotions get the best of his decision making. I was like, oh shit. I mean, yeah, man. And then there was like the stuff about like Pacioretty, and like I was like, wow, this guy's just like going ham here, man. Like he's just ripping everybody to shreds.
yeah. I couldn't believe that he actually said it because I thought in the book he just talked about some of his best memories. We talked about that and the craziness that happened.
a lot of guys though do like I know Brian Burke was one of those guys that was really like open about a lot of stuff in his book too. Like
He was, yeah. He did not give a
yeah,
crap.
yeah, I like Berkey though. He's a good dude. I liked him when he was on Sportsnet when he was an analyst there. He became really likable. It was just ironic because the media like loved how like just loved messing with him when he was in Toronto and he was always grumpy to the media. And then he became a media member and he was actually like showed his side that he was like really likable and stuff. And I was like, good for him.
Uh, just want to touch on this comment from Mitchell UFC. He says, I don't think it's a matter of being 2 minutes late, just on the Jonathan Town situation.
Yeah, it could have been other stuff too. Like we only know so much, right? And obviously like they're really like I find with hockey, they're very superficial about the info they give to the public, which you know what I think is good because you want less distraction, right? But hey, whatever happened, happened. I think on Saturday night he was like basically glued to the bench, like pretty much for the whole game.
I think he was supposed to be a healthy scratch, but Gooley got injured just before the game, so he was pretty much just forced to be on the bench.
Yeah, that kind of sucked. Like I was like, that's pretty shitty, but you know, it is what it is, right? And you know, we don't know what's gonna happen next for him.
Because I don't know if you remember the stuff in Tampa when he played for Tampa around like the 2015-16 season where he was being scratched in the AHL, and then eventually during the playoffs they called him up. Apparently there were some antics involving him.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't want to intend to be like offensive or anything, but I remember like that whole situation in 2016 with Drouin, and then he had a resurgence in that playoffs, and he nearly single-handedly carried Tampa to that finals with great goaltending and really good defense from the Lightning.
Yeah,
and a lot of injuries.
He was. I think it was. I remember it too. There was like a whole saga. Like he was. Like he wasn't happy with like he wasn't getting any NHL like time. He was, kind of felt like he was just buried in the minors, and I think his agent was the one that actually like, kind of like broke the news to the media.
Check who his agent is now, because if it's Alan Walsh, it won't surprise me.
Oh fuck yeah, I think it is. Honestly, I think he's his agent. Because yeah, I'm pretty sure he's his agent. Because I saw something on Twitter. Shout out to our friends at Habs Fan TV, but they posted a video of this one Habs fan that had a game used Drouin jersey. I don't know if you saw that, Damen. But then,
I think I saw that. Yeah.
And then Alan Walsh actually went on Twitter and said, "Find out who this fan is, and like we'll get him to meet Joe." And so I'm assuming he's one of his clients. And honestly, with the way that kind of came out, with him being frustrated with his ice time, that's such an Alan Walsh thing to do. And you see what I mean? Like going back like weeks before when I said, like, he just gets his clients in trouble. Like, why would you open that stuff up to the public? Like that as an agent, like, oh man, I don't really want to get into another rant about that guy. I already said what I said about him. He's a goof, but like whatever.
Like he says everything we're pretty much thinking on our minds about players.
Yeah, but like I'm not disagreeing with you on that. I just think like his job is to just get his players like the brand deals and the sponsorships and help negotiate their contracts and take a bit of their salary, right? And that's it. That's his job. He's not there to be a cheerleader, right? These guys can advocate for themselves if they have to. Like they don't need to see their agent like fighting on the sidelines and posting shit on Twitter. It's like I just don't think it's very professional at all, to be honest, right? Like, and it looks bad on the players, behalf, right? Like it just looks bad on them, even if it's like they don't even feel that way, right? Or maybe maybe they do, right? It's just not the right way to go about with business. But yeah, Al Walsh is Drew's agent. Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, this one here, this might be throwing you on the spot, but just I don't know, we can try to tackle this.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. It's not a very polarizing topic as much as it was like 2 years ago, but I like what I've seen from him. I've been seeing a lot of highlights the last couple of seasons from him in what do you call it, in London there.
The Michigan.
Oh, that was dirty, and like just coast to coast, like skating down the ice, right, like ripping shots. Like he's gonna be great. I think he's gonna be a great player. Now if he ends up playing with Montreal, I don't know because of what happened. Now, mind you, like what he did shouldn't be downplayed. Obviously, it was very serious, and obviously, he broke the law. There's no other way to say it. Like he broke the law. It was, very, disgusting, and also on his end too, he's done everything in his power to like be better and to publicly take accountability for what he did. Um, and he knows what he did was wrong. Obviously, you can apologize like 50 to 100 or 100,000 times, and it's still not going to take back what he did. But at least he acknowledged what he did, and he knew when it was wrong, and he did everything to be better. Like he even went to like like therapy to to be like to I guess like 'cause he was very remorseful, right? So he needed to go to therapy and help himself get the help he needs, to be better going forward. And even said that I don't think I'm mature enough to be drafted this year. He was literally telling teams, not pick me, and then obviously what happened, right? And yeah, it's just is pretty bad. But I think he made a mistake. He's definitely learned from it. I'm always been a person, I believe in second chances. Obviously, it depends what it is. And but I think he's done everything he can to be better going forward. And you know, regardless of how much he's taken accountability, you just don't know. Like he might just he might be blacklisted by the league because of this. You just don't know, right?
Yeah, like I remember just looking back at that time, like when that happened, I remember hearing about this, but I didn't think much. Like I didn't think this guy Logan Mailloux would be picked. And then I remember I saw the Habs were getting ready to make their selection. Then I heard from the London Lights Logan. I'm like, wait, what? And I was just like, my jaw dropped. I'm like, we picked this guy who said we do not pick him. I was just in complete shock. Like I was like, I
Yeah,
couldn't believe that. I just couldn't believe that we actually picked him. But I do believe in. Don't get me wrong. I do believe in second chances. But I just feel like this one came way too fast for Logan Mailloux.
it's
Like,
fair.
and I think that the all NHL teams. And I remember there was something weird that that the Habs said in their pre-draft press conference. Remember, Trevor Timmons said, "I know it's a first-round pick that we have today, but we're going to treat it like a second-round pick." And there was some reporters who were saying that not a lot of teams are prepared to pick Mailloux with their second-round pick. And I found that to be a very weird comment. We're treating it our first-round pick like a second, and they still picked him, which means he was going to get picked regardless. But he should not have been picked, and the NHL should have had a rule to allow himself to be renounced, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I'm liking from what I know right now. Like I'm liking the progress that he's making, and it seems like he's learned from what he did. And I'm hoping that he can become a better human being. And from what we noticed, like I've seen on social media, that he's been out with Suzuki and Anderson. And apparently, Suzuki let him stay at his house in Montreal this summer. And I'm just hoping that he can continue on this path to becoming a better human being.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you on that too. Honestly, I didn't know much about um, like what he did until they drafted him. I didn't even know like I didn't know that there was that whole thing went on, right? And then I remember watching the draft, and then I was like getting ready to like go to sleep, and I was like just check Twitter one more time, and then the outrage on the internet. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, what's going on? Kept scrolling, kept scrolling. Every tweet was about him. Like, I can't believe they did this. What the fuck? What the fuck? And then I was like, what did this guy do? And then I looked it up, and I was like, ooh, this is not a good look. Like right away, I was like, this is not a good fucking look. Like, holy shit. And then I remember um, Trevor Timmons. Well, Trevor Timmons and the whole Habs scouting and management, whenever like the media asked them about it, they were just pointing the finger at each other. They like all of them, Bergevin, Timmons, they were all dodging accountability with this. They were just all blaming each other for it. After that, I was like, this is a disaster. I remember they asked Trevor Timmons like, "What was your thought process?" or something along the lines of that. What's your thought process when you made this pick? And he just went silent for like 10 seconds, and that 10 seconds of silent was so deafening. I was like, "Wow, this is like a PR disaster for the
Oh
Habs."
my.
And they even had to make a public statement like like right after they made the pick, and I was like, wow, like this is great. I've never seen anything like this in my life for, as the time like 16 years as a Habs fan, in 2021. Never seen that in my life. I was like, wow, this is insane. I was just in shock.
I same here. I remember like the next morning I thought, okay, like I was so mad that night, like I probably like broke a wall in my house because I was so mad about this stuff and like the negative effect, like, and it showed it would have on the Habs, and it showed like a lot of things that were wrong, like with the wrong with the organization, in my opinion, because he literally said, "Do not pick me," and we still picked him.
Yeah.
And then I knew like a negative PR disaster would come out. And I remember as soon as they transitioned from Bergevin picking Mailloux, instead of the camera transitioning to him celebrating, it was just right back to the studio, and everyone in the studio was like, "What?" And then Sam Constantino shouts, "I have a daughter." Like, this is like, how could the Montreal Canadiens do this? Like,
Yeah.
everyone in that NHL Network room was so shocked, and I don't blame them. Like, I was dead shocked that night. And I remember Steve Dangle said, and Bergevin. I remember Bergevin worked for the Blackhawks when we had the first rumblings of the Kyle Beach incident. Like around that time, I remember Steve Dangle said what Bergevin did was absolutely indefensible because Bergevin said he did not know about it and he picked the guy who did this, and it was so indefensible.
Yeah, that was definitely a really hard time I for, after the finals, and like it was just, that's if he ended up being drafted, you would have thought maybe he'd be like a sixth or seventh rounder, right? And it would have still gotten attention, but the fact that they use a first rounder on him after he said like, "Don't pick me," right? Like that's I think where the outrage was.
I agree, and I don't know if you remember this, but even Justin Trudeau was like, "I can't believe the Habs
Yeah,
did this." Like,
yeah,
when the
everyone
prime
was.
minister of your country has to make a statement about a draft pick that a hockey team makes, it's like it was bad.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, everyone was talking about it, man. It
And I
was.
remember we lost sponsors, the Habs. I remember Jean Couture and I'm pretty sure it was Desjardins both pulled out of supporting the Habs, or
Really? Oh, I didn't know about the sponsorships. That's pretty bad.
because apparently I saw something that Bergevin thought that he'd get backlash, but he never thought he'd get this much backlash for the pick.
I think honestly that might have been like the last nail in the coffin for Bergevin in Montreal. I might have heard that apparently Molson. Again, I'm not an insider or anything. I might have seen this news from an insider. I don't remember exactly who, but apparently Bergevin, like again, I might have been the last nail in the coffin for him. And Molson might have been pissed at him for making that pick, and kind of went into the season with not with what it was, and a lot of guys were gone from that Stanley Cup win. Stanley Cup finals appearance, and just last season was what happened, right? And then obviously he got fired. What was it? I think he found out from like Twitter or something. From what I remember hearing, I don't think he was formally told until like after like Elliot Friedman and all those other guys found out. I don't know if that's true too, but I might have heard that. And then like Scott Mellenby quit, and it was just like, whoa, like, what is going on with this team, right? And then I heard Bergevin got fired, and I was like, he did a lot of great things, but it was just time. It was time for him to go. Like especially after that offseason where Price and Weber weren't coming back, and a lot of the players from the Stanley Cup run were gone, and he made a lot of desperation moves, right? And obviously that Logan Mailloux pick stirred up a lot of controversy too, and it was just one thing after the other, and then I think that was the final nail in the coffin for him there.
I agree because I had a feeling. I remember Bergevin. I think that I don't know if it was that summer or if it was a bit before the season started, where Bergevin said, "In a perfect world, I'll be back, but I'll honor the last year on my contract."
Yeah, I remember that too.
I thought that okay, like after the pick, I thought okay, Molson, he's either gonna fire him or he's just gonna let that 1 year play out.
Yeah, and just honor his contract.
Yeah, and I remember like that whole time when I heard Scott Mellenby got fired. I remember I saw a report online that the Habs are looking at Jeff Gordon, but not for a GM position. So I thought, oh, this looks interesting. I thought, okay, I don't know if Bergeron would be fired here because I know at the time we didn't have a president of hockey ops. So I thought, okay, maybe he might be working with Bergeron. And then I heard Mellenby resign. So I thought, oh, could he be taking over as GM? And then I thought it was not a question of if, but when it's finally announced. And then Bergevin found out on Twitter because apparently I heard a report that Gary Bettman had somewhat not really a say, but had some influence on Gorton working for Montreal because apparently Bettman wanted Gorton to get another job in the NHL, and he thought the Habs would be a good fit. So he apparently said talked to Molson from what I heard.
Oh wow!
And tried working something out. So
that's pretty good.
Yeah. It was a rare Bettman W.
I was just about to say that too. Rare Bettman W, but he actually.
I think he needs the original 6 teams to do all Bettman. Like he needs those historic teams to do well.
God.
So
Bettman, what a guy.
Yeah, like we just I can't believe how fast we went on like how long we went on Mailloux. Like it was just a little comment and like when we like talked about it for a long time. It was a good point, yeah.
Yeah, man, it was a good question because like not many I don't think we really we talked about it on this channel, I think, like after the fact, not obviously when it happened, but
months after.
Yeah, which I think that's obviously it was just one of those things. It was a really sensitive topic at the time. I think you just got to wait till the like when the dust settles a little bit, when it's not as as a polarizing event. But yeah, it's definitely he's doing well. His development seems like it's in the right track. Personally, I don't know what the future's like for him with this franchise, or even honestly in the NHL. I don't know if he's just going to be completely blacklisted from the league because of what he did. I don't know. Personally, I hope he gets a chance in Montreal. Like I know what he did was wrong, and like I said, like he's done everything in his power to to be a better person, and hopefully he keeps taking those steps. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I just wanted to switch gears here for a bit, and we're going to talk about the East wildcard race.
Yeah,
I'm just a little less sensitive and less like all craziness, but like this is still pretty crazy enough. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh man.
What do you think's making it in here?
Excuse me. I think Islanders and Penguins are going in. Buffalo, I know I said Buffalo a few weeks ago, but they're starting to kind of fall out of the race. I mean, it's still possible for them, but they're starting to fall out of the race. If they don't do it this year, then maybe next year. Devin Levi signed his entry-level deal the other day, so that will be their goalie of the future from what it looks like. And he played great for Northeastern, I believe it was, in the NCAA. And he's going to probably be the future goalie. And Buffalo has it all. I just think their goaltending needs to be a little bit better. And I think he's going to do that for them long term.
I agree. I think it's also Islanders and Pens because both those teams did make a lot of good acquisitions for the deadline. Pittsburgh, I'm surprised they didn't do as much as I thought they would, but they're still doing enough just to keep this core contending in the playoffs. But I think it's pretty obvious they're not going to win a cup with this core again. Like this core had a nice run, but when they eventually fall out of favor and then they have to go to the rebuild route, oh my God, it's going to be bad.
It's going to be bad because like Crosby, Malkin, and Letang, like those are 3 guys that are going to be lifers in Pittsburgh no matter what the situation is, right? Like they're never going to trade those 3 because of what they've accomplished with the franchise, and you just got to respect you got to respect them, and they're going to be in a rebuild very soon. They don't have much aside from those 3. I don't even think like draft pick wise, I don't really know what they really have.
Owen Pickering and Sam Poulin, that's it.
Yeah, that's like they don't have much. They got to start thinking like, hey, we're we're gonna have to be in a rebuild in a couple of years probably, and they gotta maybe start thinking about the future soon.
Yeah, and interesting stat here from K Wolf.
Yeah, that's right. His rookie year was the only time he missed the playoffs. Ever since then, he's gone. Let's see, 2006, so 2007. So that's 16 years in a row in the playoffs. And the Penguins too, 16 years in a row in the playoffs. Like that's crazy. That's like unheard of. That's amazing.
Yeah, like the Red Wings as well was really amazing. I think the Red Wings was like 20 or 30 years, somewhere in that range.
Yep, it was something in the 20. I think it was in the 20s or something. And then obviously they're kind of in a different spot now too. But yeah, they're good. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, and I also want to touch on the Sens here. I think the Sens, had they been a bit more aggressive before the deadline, I think, and they didn't get off to such a rocky start this season, I think they would have been in a playoff spot.
Mm-hmm.
But DJ Smith is he's a very unique coach I find, because he always has this. The story is always the same with the way the Sens start. The Sens get off to a rocky start, and they get better as the season goes along, and they get really good towards the end, but just miss.
Mm-hmm.
But they finally added Chikrin, and the Brinkhat might sign there long term, depending on how the new ownership deal goes. So they're gonna have Deadpool as their new owner, but we all know who their true owner is, Arbor Jack guy.
Oh yes, there you go. I mean, all jokes aside, I would love to see. Hopefully, Ryan Reynolds can end up buying the team and making the hockey culture fun for them there. Personally, they didn't really give up a lot for Chikrin, so that's already a dub in itself. I think the Sens have a good future. It's just I don't know, and I think we've talked about this too, Damon, but is DJ Smith the guy to kind of take them to that next level, right? Like I don't know if he is. Like
There's so many question marks around it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying too.
I mean, I got into this discussion with my uncle who's a Sens fan, and I said to him, I think it's time maybe for a new coach, because the Sens have just all the talent, but it's the same story. And he said he thinks that the players all like DJ Smith, so they should keep him. Like, don't get me wrong, I know like the players all like him, and he seems like a nice guy, DJ Smith. But yeah. I don't know if this will be risky, but I wonder if you give him the start of next season, and then if the things start to go haywire, you find a new guy. I was going to say, I think Bruce Boudreau could be a good coach for the Sens.
Ooh, that's a good pick. I think Boudreau would do well. I think Boudreau is one of those guys now that, obviously he got shafted, by the Canucks there. Like they just set him up to fail there, and it was not really good how they handled that horribly, and we've talked about that a lot on this show. But I think again he's a guy that just obviously like a lot of people felt bad for him, and a lot of people like gained a lot of respect for him for how he handled it too. And I think he would probably be welcomed with open arms in any franchise now.
I agree, and like talking about how professionally he handled that, like I was so surprised at the level of professionalism he handled, because he nearly broke down in tears during a press conference, saying like, I don't remember his exact words, but I think he was trying to say like, I know like my future's already decided. Yeah. And I liked how the fans were just so behind it, like they're always chanting Bruce, there it is, Bruce, there it is.
Yeah,
but
it was awesome.
Man, that organization, just the Vancouver Canucks, I still don't understand how they don't do a full proper rebuild. Francesco Aquilini, please just hire the right people.
Poverty franchise, that's what they are.
Did you see the urinating tree video about them? That was hilarious.
Oh, what? Sorry?
You know the YouTuber Urinating Tree?
No, I don't. What
he's a funny YouTuber who goes on crazy rants. He made a funny video about the Canucks, and he makes like crazy rants about different teams. Like he did one about Bergevin. He did one about Mike Keenan. He's done different ones about different teams throughout. Like he's the ultimate hilarious sports YouTuber out there. And go and like and subscribe to his channel. Like I'm saying this as a big fan of his.
That's amazing. Yeah, like that team is just a piece of work, I tell you. Yeah, but honestly, like I think Boudreau would do well on a team like Ottawa. I think he would actually like he seems like the kind of coach now to like that gets the best out of his players, and he's really adjusted his coaching style over the years, and I think he'd do great there. But like Ottawa, just they gotta stop signing these like 30-year-old veterans to like overpaid contracts, like Austin Watson's one, and like some of these other guys that just again like they just take up roster spots, and they just could be giving those spots to like younger players that are actually going to be more contributing factor than some of these guys, right? So
Yeah.
I do have a funny story though about Austin Watson. So
Oh, I got to hear this.
yeah, so my girlfriend and I went to Leafs and Senators because I'm live in Toronto, right? So we went to a preseason game in September, and it was at the Scotiabank Center. I still call it Air Canada Center. It's just what I'm used to.
It
But
feels weird not to.
yeah, right. Like it's just weird. Like I still call it Air Canada Center, just like how people still call the Rogers Center the Sky Dome, right? It's the same kind of thing. The old school Torontonians, but yeah. So we were watching the players warm up, and my girlfriend saw Austin Watson. She's like, "Wow, he's really hot, and oh, he's good looking and all that." And I'm like, "Wait till he opens his mouth." And then he smiled, and his two front teeth were missing. And she's like, "Ooh, you're right. Never mind. I retract that statement."
I won't touch on Watson though. Like I think he's still a good player, but the problem is the Sens haven't made the playoffs, and the playoffs is where his best hockey is played.
Mm-hmm.
Now remember him in the 2017 run with Nashville? That fourth line Sissons, Craig Smith, and Watson, that grinded out wins for them.
Yeah, Colton Sissons was nasty in those playoffs. I remember that. Thinking about it now, like don't get me wrong, like Austin Watson, he's a serviceable player, but like I just find now it's just whenever I see him, like people talking about him, it's because he's giving somebody a dirty hit or taking a stupid penalty or something, right? So I don't know what's going on there, but one thing I gotta say about him too, he is a big guy, man. He's a scary dude. He's like at least 6'6" on skates. I remember like watching him skate. I'm like, wow, this guy is massive. I would not want to fight him in a bar. That's for sure.
Fought anyone in a bar yet?
No, I haven't fought any. I haven't fought anybody.
Okay, good.
I came close, mind you, but when I was younger. But no, I try to keep it clean when I go there, unless obviously there's some situations that are unavoidable. But nothing right now. So
whenever you go to the bar, just try to always avoid conflict.
Yeah, it's not worth it, man. Cops come in and shit. Not worth it, man.
Yeah. As I just wanted to switch gears here, to something that I found so unique. So this particular GM said he has an app that determines all of his trades. I don't know what his negotiating skills are, because so far he doesn't seem to get the best return on things that he should be getting good returns for. Chuck Fletcher. Finally, Philadelphia out of their misery, and they hired Habs legend Danny Briere.
Yeah, Danny B. What a guy. Yeah, Chuck Fletcher. It's just one thing after the other with that fucking guy, man. He, I don't even know where to start. The worst, like the breaking point for me was last summer when he was asked like why he didn't give Johnny Gaudreau an offer, and he said something along the lines of basically I didn't have the cap space to make the signing, and it would have been too hard to make cap space. It's like, well, like what kind of message are you sending there? Like, oh my god. Oh, I was like, oh, this is like Vancouver Canucks level poverty, like franchise bullshit. I was like, oh my god, that's a fireable offense just with that one comment. And then this trade deadline pops by, and he has a chance to trade like, Travis Konecny. I heard was in some rumors, and
JVR.
What's that?
JVR as well.
Yeah, that's right. That was another one. He was supposed to trade him. I'm pretty sure he's a free agent soon. But no, he goes and acquires Brendan Lemieux. He goes and acquires a goon instead of trading assets. So I'm like, oh my god, why does this guy still have a job? Oh my god, man.
Remember when he called Nick
Oh,
Deslauriers a special player?
you know what? I do really like Nick Deslauriers. I
Same
will
here.
give. He is. You know what? I will have to agree with him on that because he is a special player. He does everything right. He can score goals. He can play. You know, he can fight.
Hmm.
Does it all. I to this day I love Nick Deslauriers. I wish the Habs didn't trade him because he was phenomenal.
Yeah, we didn't get enough for Deslauriers in that return, but I still believe that they kind of had that Nick Aube-Kubel. Like Nick
Yeah,
Aube-Kubel was a very similar player who could score goals, he could fight, he can grind out games, very
yeah,
versatile. But he can't. I don't agree with that comment about him saying we're happy to have Deslauriers because he's a special player. He's pretty much acquired an older version of Nick Aube-Kubel.
yeah.
Like,
Pretty much.
and he could have easily made room for Goodrow. He could have sent one of those contracts to Arizona because that's the way you do it now. Send a
Yeah,
contract to the Coyotes, give them a pick, and then they'll say, okay, we'll eat the salary and circumvent the cap to be as bad as possible.
they should have just traded Ristolainen's contract to like Arizona. Give them like a second or a first rounder. Like you know what? Cut your losses. Like give them a draft pick. You know, get Goudreau, and then just that's it. But no, he just wanted to sit on his ass and do nothing. It's just brutal. Although I think Danny Briere is going to do some good things for them. I know again the founder of our channel here, Dale Weiss, obviously he's teammates with him, and still talks to him from what I know. And I know Dale said on this channel before, like he was actually like before they hired Kent Hughes, he was saying he would have loved to see Danny Briere be the next GM of the Habs back then, maybe over a year and a half ago, right when we were talking about it on this channel. And yeah, he apparently Briere has like management experience on other teams and stuff. And I I just I've always kind of seen him as a guy who maybe would be a good GM one day. But I think that was a good hire. Excuse me. I think that's a good hire, and I think hopefully he's there long term. It is the Flyers we are talking about. They are very questionable franchise at times, but hopefully he's there long term. Hopefully they give him a chance to kind of shake things up, and just that team just overall just needs a culture change. Like I don't know how many head coaches uh I don't know how many coaches you can go through and with the same core and it's just not working, right? So you got to think, it's above the coach, and you got to think it's an organizational culture problem, right? And hopefully he can make the changes, and kind of like the culture change that the Habs needed after the Bergevin regime, right? So hopefully he can change, he can just turn it around like that.
Yeah, and I remember he was saying that a big reason why Tortorella was hired to be the Philadelphia Flyers head coach was to solve their culture issue there.
Yeah,
I mean, I
hasn't worked.
wonder, like, I mean, this commentary is very interesting, but I agree with this commentary. Like, I don't think they're going to win with Torts, but I would say it's a W with Torts if he solves the culture issue that they have there.
Problem is, it looks like they just don't care. The players don't care. I saw some Flyers fans on the internet, even they say like they look like they don't care, right? The players just giving up, and that's what you don't want, though, right? Because like that is beyond the coach, right? Sometimes you just like I remember hearing things like about Philly in the past that like the culture and the team, like the organization, they had culture issues and leadership issues, and it just it I don't know how much a coach can do, right? It, I mean, Tortorella did change the culture in Tampa Bay when he was coaching there. I know Brad Richards was on Spit and Chicklets I think it was last year, and talked about that, and it was actually a really good interview. He talked about how Torts really came in there, and he was a hard ass and just kind of put things into perspective, and instead of Tampa Bay just being a like a retirement thing for some players, right? Some guys are coming there at the end of their career just to get some golf in and stuff during the winter. Like, made it like a serious franchise and really turned things around. But I don't know. I think that, the players now are different than they were back then. So we'll see
Yeah.
what happens.
Yeah, and I just want to touch on something else right now. So,
Mhm.
Northeastern lost two of their best players just now. They lost their best goalie, Devin Levi, and they lost Jaden Struble to thankfully us. And just want to get your
Mhm.
thoughts on these signings because I'm really happy for both of these guys, especially Devin Levi, because he's been such a good goalie at every level he's played in. I remember, I don't know if you watched the World Junior A Challenge tournament very much, but he carried a Canada East team over a loaded USA team with good players such as Brendan Brisson, Sean Farrell, Isaiah
Oh,
Seville. There's so many good young players on the team who's been drafted to the NHL from that USA team. And he nearly led Canada to East to an upset over the Russians. And the Russians send their best players to that tournament, when Canada just sends their best junior A players to that tournament. So I'm really happy for him to be signed, but to an NHL contract. And Jaden Struble's, he reminds me a bit of an Arbor Jackeye clone who can move the puck as well. So I'm really happy that we have him.
yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about Jane Struble over the last few years, and I'm just happy they got him signed, and maybe again he can start playing in Laval. Obviously, he's going to play this year down the stretch. Excuse me,
Mhm.
and maybe going into next year, maybe he gets a few games with the big club or stays in Laval and kind of plays there and develops. I'm okay with either or. I think it's great. It's a great move for Laval down the stretch, like you said earlier. They're 6 points out of a playoff spot, so that's good for them going forward to add some depth that they need. And also with Devin Levi, I've heard a lot of good things about him. If I'm correct, he was part of the trade with the Panthers for Sam Reinhart. I think
Oh,
he
yeah.
went the
He
other
was the
way.
main prospect in that.
Yeah, exactly, right? So I knew there was a lot of good things coming out of that trade for Buffalo. I remember a lot of people were saying like, "Wow, Devin Levi, that's like a great return for Sam Reinhart." Obviously, Sam Reinhart's still like a fantastic player as well. I really like him in Florida, and um, yeah. So obviously, like I said earlier, Buffalo kind of needs goaltending. Long term, I think he's going to be the guy um, that'll address their needs in goaltending. And yeah, the great signing. I don't know, maybe if he plays this year with the Sabres or maybe with Rochester, the Rochester Americans, maybe down the stretch. We'll see what happens, but yeah, he's gonna be huge.
Yeah, and for one of the big entertainment shows of the night, we have to bring up this guy, your favorite goalie of all time,
Oh
fighting one of the
god.
nicest goalies of all time.
Oh man, the NHL just loves taking the fun out of everything, man. Just let them go. I don't know why the refs were in the way there. Yeah, I don't know. Like I remember there was because Flurry was mic'd up for that moment, and he's like, "Come on, let's go, let's go." He's like, "Let me go, let me go." And he's like telling the ref, like, "Let us go, like just for a little bit." Right? I don't understand, man. Like, it's crazy how the American Hockey League and even the East Coast League has more goalie fights than the NHL, and like people again, if you want to attract fans and you want to bring new fans and even casual fans in, the fights are what brings them in, right? For people that are just want to get into hockey, right? Most non-hockey fans, you ask them, what do you like about hockey? Right away, it's the fighting. It's so good. It's so cool, right? Like the goalie fights would be great to grow the game. Like I know, like we gotta. There's the whole other thing with like the players and like their physical well-being, but like if they like, I think like a fight for like 5 seconds, 10 seconds is not gonna hurt anybody, right? But um, I don't understand with Jordan Bennington, man. That guy's just been so horny for fights lately. I don't fucking understand his problem, but he's just like I don't understand. He's nuts. Like he's trying to be like Ron Hextall, but Ron Hextall actually did it properly. But also like mind you, the refs are way different now than they were back then, right? So they let things slide back then, and they don't even let you sneeze on a player now, and like God forbid you get like 5 game suspension and like a $10,000 fine. But I think the league's just gotta kind of sorry, the refs just kind of have to like just cut it loose and just let them just come on, let it go. They got to
Yeah,
grow the game. That's it. That's how you grow the game. That's one of the big factors of growing it.
I mean, I have mixed, like, it's good points you brought up, but I have a lot of mixed thoughts on fighting. So that's the thing I want to touch on first. Like, I don't
Sure.
mind fighting in some sense. Like, typically, if you're standing up for your player who gets injured and all that, like, if someone gets injured, someone needs to go at him for a fight, in my opinion. Or if like there's a dirty hit, like those are some of the only like real fights that I personally agree with. But the things that I don't like are just fighting for the sake of fighting. But this fight I kind of wanted to see, I'll say that. But also goalie fights. I haven't seen many like badly brutal goalie fights where like goalies get injured or concussions or anything like that. Remember the Price Thomas fight?
Yeah.
2011? That
Yeah.
was hilarious because Thomas went to punch Price, and then he flipped over, and then he fell on the ice. Thankfully, didn't hit his head, but landed right back on his butt, and it was pretty funny. And like Price and Thomas had a good chuckle about it.
Yeah, they weren't trying to. And that's the thing too. Like they weren't trying to injure each other. They were just wanting to have a little wrestling match and kind of just join what was going on in the background, right? And another good one too is Marc-Andre Fleury again was with Peter Budaj 2 years later. I don't know if you remember that. There was a game between the Habs and the Penguins, and Budaj and Fleury almost threw them down. And I
Yeah,
was like, again, I was like, come on, like let it go, like let them do it. Like this is great for the game. But yeah, the only time I've really seen a goalie get hurt in a goalie fight was I think it was Rick DiPietro and Brent Johnson when it was the Penguins and Islanders, like back I think again 2011 or 2012 was it?
yeah,
I think that was the only time I saw a goalie get hurt in a fight. But like DiPietro just got fucking bah! And he just fell to the ice, and I was like, oh boy, another DiPietro injury, right? So yeah, like again, I don't think no one would have gotten hurt, but I don't know. The NHL is lame sometimes.
yeah, they are.
Super lame.
Yeah, and also I don't know what your thoughts are on the QMJHL trying to pull out fighting next year.
Don't agree with it. I don't agree with it because, like the thing you stated earlier, right? Like, what if there's a dirty hit and on one of your teammates and he gets severely hurt, and Buddy's got to answer the bell. Buddy that hurt him's got to answer the bell in some way. So what are you gonna do? Is it gonna be a hit from behind now and concussion? God forbid, but something like that happens, and teammates are just gonna sit there and watch. Like, come on. I don't agree with it, but I understand though, like to some extent, like they're thinking about the safety of the players, but I'm just a very traditionalist when it comes to like sports, so I don't like drastic change like that for the sports, especially with hockey. Like hockey's always been like fighting's always been a part of hockey, right? In some way. I mean, now it's obviously not as relevant as it used to be. It's kind of there in the background, but obviously it's not like a huge factor in the game like it was, in the 80s and 70s and whatnot. But
Yeah, like I agree with, especially with like all the fighting. Yeah. So, is
yeah,
there anything else you want to touch on just before we start to log off here soon?
yeah, I actually do one more thing. For anyone in the chat that wants to join too, who are your early picks for the Stanley Cup?
Let's see what the chat says, but I'm just gonna say I have a few contenders like right now. I think the Avalanche could go back to back. Tampa Bay
Really?
always finds a way to stay in there, and then I think the Carolina Hurricanes could be a good team, but they didn't add as much as I thought that they did, as much as I thought they would have added.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and those are like my early like predictions right now. And I think the Rangers as well could be is going to be a good team. I can't believe like I didn't say them first off.
Yeah, I think personally, I think Boston. I hate to say it, I think Boston looks unstoppable right now. They're just making history left, right, and center this year, and like everything's working. Rangers too. I'd love to see the Rangers even make a push. I like their team. I like their odds. And I hate to say it, I don't like Carolina, but Carolina too looks pretty good going into the playoffs.
Yeah. This is a good point from K Wolf right here. Good question. I think it's going to be Tampa versus Colorado rematch. That would be a really good rematch.
That would be mint because that series was good last year. Like it was pretty entertaining. Like it wasn't as good as some of those other series we were talking about earlier, but I'd still say it was, again, the quality of hockey was really good.
I agree. Like that quality. Like I know it was only 6 games compared to most finals that we ideally like them to go 7, but that was just some of the most top tier hockey. Like everyone was ready to kill each other.
Yeah, it was insane.
And Lehkonen, of course, finishing it off with the dagger to Tampa Bay's hearts.
I love it. He always comes clutch with the goals. He's not like a guy who scores like 30, 40 goals a year, obviously, but those couple of goals he gets every so often are so clutch, and it's always in the perfect moments.
I agree, and I'm just gonna mention like about Lehkonen. I found when he was with when he was with Montreal, like throughout like when it was with Julian Therrien and Ducharme as his coaches, he never really put up many points, but he was still good defensively.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as Marty came in, he just channeled another level of Lehkonen, and Lehkonen, it was the type of winger that McKinnon actually asked for Lehkonen to be on his line.
Yeah, I think like they kind of use him more as like a checking line forward and like a defensive forward and stuff, but they could have, I mean, if they maybe utilize him a little bit better. Look what happened. Marty comes around and he uses him more, he utilizes him. He ended up scoring more goals. He had a career season last year, so
I hope Marty stays coach for the next 10 years. Same here.
that's
I'd give him a lifetime contract.
Lifetime deal, kind of like Kovalchuk.
With the way things are going, yeah.
Hey, you know what? I think he's going to be there as long as he can. Obviously, with how good they are now. So, sorry, how good they're how good of a direction they're heading into. Sorry, well, I say they're not too great right now, but I hope you guys understood what I meant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So since this is going to be our final show, we just want to give another major thank you to everyone watching, everyone supporting over these past feels like I think 2.5 years it's been. It's just been amazing.
Yeah, this is really it's sad. It's our last stream. May do one more as a group. Maybe they're still in talks of it. I don't know what's going on yet. Maybe sometime this coming month in April, we'll see. But again, guys, thank you so much for all the support. Thank you for welcoming David and I with open arms. When we joined this channel, I'm really gonna miss doing this. This is I come home from my day job, and just making Habs Tonight content was always like the one thing I look forward to every day. It's like I said, I don't know what the future has in store for me yet, but we'll see what happens, and maybe for us as a team, maybe we can join forces again and maybe make a comeback in a couple of years. But it's been a ride, and thank you guys again. And I'm gonna miss doing this, and I love you guys for sure.
Thank you. I love all of you guys watching. Cheers, guys.
Take care, guys.